Have you been rejected or disappointed time and time again? Well, Colonel Harland Sanders, founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, did. But he took his failures and didn't just make lemonade, he made the world a better place. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, is world-renowned for its fried chicken. Known by the face of an old man with a white beard, the brand indeed has a crispy on the outside and juicy on the inside history. Sanders was born in 1890 in Henryville, Indiana. When he was 6 years old, his father passed away, leaving Sanders to cook and care for his siblings. In 7th grade, he dropped out of school and left home to go work as a farmhand. Already turning into a tough cookie. At 16, he faked his age to enlist in the United States Army. After being honorably discharged a year later, he got hired by the railway as a laborer. However, he got fired for fighting with a coworker. While he worked for the railway, he studied law until he ruined his legal career by getting into another fight. Sanders was forced to move back in with his mom and get a job selling life insurance. And guess what? He got fired for insubordination. But this guy wouldn't give up. In 1930, Sanders got a job to run a gas station in Corbin, Kentucky. To make some extra income, he cooked and offered food to his customers. Here, he served fried chicken and other dishes he learned as a child. Soon word spread about his cooking, and people from far-off places came to taste his food. His chicken was such a hit that he eventually removed the gas pumps and converted the gas station into a full-fledged restaurant. In 1936, he was awarded the title of Kentucky Colonel by the Governor of Kentucky. By 1937, he expanded the business to include a motel and a cafe, Sanders Courts and Cafe, that could seat around 142 people. It took around 30 minutes to cook fried chicken, which was a significant problem for Sanders as the fried chicken was his best-selling food item on the menu. To tackle this problem, he used a pressure cooker instead of deep-frying the chicken and cut down the time to 8 to 9 minutes. This helped him to sell more fried chicken. He continued to experiment with his chicken recipe. In 1938, he finally perfected the fried chicken recipe. The recipe included 11 herbs and spices which, to this day, guarded as a secret by KFC. Sanders say, "I threw 2 handfuls of it into the flour and stirred it up with the rest of my seasonings. When I fried it up, it was the best chicken I'd ever tasted in my life. And, I've never changed my ingredients from that time to this." He expanded his business once again by opening another Sanders Court and Cafe in Asheville, North Carolina. In 1939, a fire destroyed the restaurant in Corbin. By the time it was rebuilt, World War II had broken out, reducing his customer base, which consisted mainly of tourists. He sold his Asheville location shortly after. His business continued to struggle and in 1955, suffered another blow. An interstate bypass was built on the highway that reduced the number of people taking the highway. Ultimately, Sanders had to sell his place in Corbin. He was 66 years old and had to live on a $105 Social Security check. But it was a blessing in disguise. Sanders had another idea, franchising his recipe under the name Kentucky Fried Chicken. He had already laid the foundation in 1952 when he successfully franchised his recipe to Pete Harmon. A sign painter hired by Harmon, Don Anderson, coined the name Kentucky Fried Chicken. He packed his car with some pressure cookers and a blend of 11 herbs and spices and began his journey across the United States. He journeyed across the country and visited numerous restaurants on the way, offering samples. Once they tasted the samples, he negotiated franchise deals with the restaurant owners, which was usually a 4-cent commission on every piece of chicken they sold. In exchange, he offered to teach them how to make it. He signed his first franchise agreement with a restaurant in Utah, and by 1963, there were 600 Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises across the U.S. But, the business was too big for Sanders to handle at such an old age. Many people tried to buy KFC from Sanders, and in 1964, Harland Sanders sold KFC to a group of investors led by John Y. Brown and Jack C. Massey for $2 million. He sold it on the conditions that quality will always be maintained, he will receive a lifetime salary, and he will always remain the face of the company. A lot of people have asked me why I sold my business after pouring everything I had into building it up. The answer is something like this. When Brown first got interested in Kentucky Fried Chicken, the popularity of my idea was beginning to run right smack over me. My business was beginning to get too big for me, no matter how much energy and time I put into it. By 1970, the number of outlets increased to 3,000 in 48 different countries. In 1971, Brown sold KFC to Hoobline, a food packaging and drinks company, for $285 million. Harland Sanders died in 1980. Around the time of his death, there were 6,000 outlets of KFC in 48 different countries. R.J. Reynolds, a tobacco giant, acquired Hoobline in 1982 and sold KFC to PepsiCo in 1986 for US $850 million. After coming under PepsiCo, many new products were launched. The name KFC was officially adopted in 1991. The company kept growing, and in 1997, PepsiCo spun off its restaurant chain, which included KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut, into Tricon Global Restaurant Incorporated. The new company rebranded itself as Yum! Brands in May 2002. Major fast food chains are no stranger to controversies. In 2014, a rumor resurfaced on the internet that KFC was not using chicken for meat, they were making some type of mutant chicken to make more meat out of one such chicken. Later this rumor was debunked. In 2008, actress Pamela Anderson, an animal rights activist, exposed what goes behind the making of a KFC bucket. Along with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, she criticized KFC for animal cruelty. KFC responded by stating that they take all the precautions to avoid any kind of cruelty against animals. KFC has gone through a lot of controversies and still tackles them to this day. To keep up with the changing times, KFC has introduced a variety of dishes on its menu. In countries like India, it has introduced a lot of vegetarian dishes to appeal to a broader audience. Similarly, KFC has molded its menu according to the country it operates in. Today, KFC has 22,600 in 135 countries around the world, with a brand value of US $8.3 billion and sales of $27.9 billion as of July 27, 2020. The brand value of KFC is ranked 96th in the world. The company is also experimenting with plant-based meat and looking to use new technologies to expand its growth. If you're overwhelmed by rejection or discouraged by setbacks, remember the story of Colonel Harland Sanders. Fired from multiple jobs, ruined his legal career, was set back by the Great Depression, fires, and World War II, yet still created one of the largest fast food chains in the world. Sanders wouldn't let anything or anyone defeat him. We should all be more like Colonel Sanders, besides the fighting and getting fired part. That's it for today. If you found the video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.